Hello there. I'm. I wanted to talk about the advancement of humanity. Is there an advancement of humanity? Is I read different versions of future predictions, and one thing I wanted to talk about with regard to all that is the whether or not we are actually moving into a better place as a species worldwide. Because I'm going to say yes. That's my opinion. I think if you just take a big picture, a long picture, there the changes are multidimensional. For example, there's like 8 billion people on the planet right now. Throughout most of humanity, there was less than 1 billion people, like a half a billion people in a good time. So we're like 16 times greater in population than we've ever been. So that has to be considered. And also the causes of the fact that we have 16 times greater of a population is technology and science. That leads us into, the ability to grow more crops, and to be able to make people live longer with medical technology, that kind of stuff. So we have advanced as a species in that way. Now, the big question, of course, is have we advanced socially and morally as a species? And that I like, well, I have to assume anyway that we are. I think it's two steps forward, one step back when it comes to that. There's never any straightforward line of improvement. It seems like, for example, World War II and in the Japanese and the Germans, the way they treated the enemy in those days was absolutely terrible. And now we went through a period of time where the world joined together and organized itself to be peaceful. And I feel like we're maybe sliding back a little bit right now with the racism and the nationalistic fervor from many places, so that we're sliding back. But it as a species, I do believe that we are advancing, and we are advancing on the account of the fact that we can take into account our history. You know, the history of the world, the history of the world, and the United States, and the species. Because I'll run through history. Two, 1,000, 1,500 years ago, it was a feudal system where there were like these lords and ladies and kings and bishops and so forth. They were in charge of the vast majority of people who just lived on the land, and they didn't own the land that they lived on a lot of time. Mostly, is this is just, I'm talking Europe, but around the world it was like this, I suppose. So that people were concentrated at just working a long time and listening to the boss. And we're kind of in that way now, but in lesser so. Now there's protections for workers, and there's a middle class that owns things now that didn't exist back in the 1500 years ago. Now, have we improved again? Well, yeah, we have. We, like I say, technology's improved, but also I think that government, it came to some realization to many people that government is a type of technology, and it can be improved even from now if we understand that it is a type of technology. Um, the the 1776, and the Constitution a little later brought into effect uh, a understanding of democracy and how to build a rule of law government. And we that way our original forefathers in the United States stepped back and said, let's make this a form of technology. We're gonna improve the government to the point where everybody can live better. And that was a understanding that did not exist prior to that. So then we went through several other changes along the way, like freed the slaves. See, they said, oh, this is wrong. This is morally wrong. So we improved there. And I believe that the separation of church and state, I think, was a great advancement, taking away the concept of metaphysics in ruling the world. That I think that was an improvement. So now we're coming into this era where people are doing instantaneous communications on a level that was never possible before. So more technological changes are leading to a new social existence, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm on the internet, and on the internet, the people who were like nobodies can now communicate with everybody else on some level. So that it's a new era of social expansion, and it's also a new era of government. We're having a little bit of trouble coming to grips with this whole thing, because if there's no authority in many cases on many issues. If I can say anything and you can say anything, and how do we know that what I'm saying is any better than what you're saying? Because anybody's opinion is an opinion, and if you don't have enough information, like young people don't have any information about history or philosophy, then anything will fly for a while. You know, so this is something that we're grappling with, but I'm going to propose, and this is me. I don't want to separate two major economic and political systems that exist in the world today, and they're at odds, and they've been around for about at least 200 years anyway, and that is capitalism and socialism. Now, we can go into extremes, because every time you do something that's socialist, then the other side will say it's communism, and then if you do something that's capitalism, then the other side will say, oh, it's fascism. So what they do is they're driving a wedge between those two, somewhat what people think opposing economic viewpoints. But I don't think, if we want to really understand how to advance as a society, advance as a culture, advance as a government, we should understand that these are just two sides of the same coin. That capitalism is not always a bad thing. It gives people incentives to improve things, because they're looking at their own self-interest. And it's also, people always will look at their own self-interest, no matter what you draw up as a plan. For example, you would, if you, let's say they were giving away free bread, that's how you did things. We gave away free bread. Then there would be some people trying to get in the front of the line to get the free bread, and then they're going to take 2 loaves of bread, or they're going to take the best loaves of bread, because they are going to take care of themselves first. I mean, that's if I'm just an extreme example, but in life, that's how capitalism works. Every day, when I have some money in my pocket and I go to the store, I'm looking for my best bargain. I don't want to spend more than I have to for anything, unless I'm getting better quality. And that's how capitalism works. It's everybody's trying to get their best deal. Now, socialism. Socialism is the government stepping in to do things that are necessary for a minimum amount of prosperity. So when I say socialism, I say, obvious things are the police department. If their house gets robbed, you call the police. Now, if there is no socialism, whoever pays the police is the only one that's going to get any service from them. Therefore, if you pay the police, you can do all the robbing you want. If it's just pure capitalism, but if socialism means that the police are for everybody equally, supposedly. And another example is the roads. When I want to go someplace, I want to go to work, I want to go to the store. I'm going to go on a road in the car and drive to the store. Well, somebody has to maintain that road. So that's socialism. I can go on and on with this. There's so many people. Well, the both sides do this, but so many people just say, "Oh, well, we don't need to pay taxes because taxes is a form of oppression." They say taxes is theft. They say. Well, that's such a half-baked idea, in my opinion. It kind of irritates me a little bit because without taxes, who would fix the road? You think, especially the main roads, because everybody uses the main roads. You think you would go out there and work on the main road if you weren't getting paid? How could you? You get run over. You know, no, socialism is necessary in order for the society to function well. So the question is always, how much is the right amount of each one of these things? How free can we allow the capitalists to run? And when if you wanted to, you would be able to open up any kind of a crooked operation, and there's nobody without socialism. There's nobody that would be able to stop you. Whereas if I could trick you into paying me thousands of dollars for a car, and then I never delivered the car, well, if I'm bigger and stronger than you, there's nothing you can do about it. You gave me your money, and that's tough. Or I'll give you a broken car, and you have to, then you have just a broken car. Well, in today's society, you could take that person to court, socialism, and sue them, and have the government step in and shut down crooked businesses. Socialism. See, there's always a push and pull between these two forces, and that's where the big problems occur. Now, this is a crazy idea. I think artificial intelligence can actually help us in setting up the most streamlined society. I'll even say something about Donald Trump, which I'm sorry to say, Donald Trump had a good idea. It was he was asking Elon Musk if he could run his efficiency in the government, and that concept is not bad. Maybe a department of efficiency in government would be a good thing. See, I agree with that. See, but on the other hand, you cannot destroy the underlying basis of prosperity. You can't allow for we have to determine what is the minimum amount of prosperity that we're going to allow somebody. Right now, I think we're falling off the wagon a little bit on this when we see so many people living in the streets, and people are working two jobs just to live in an apartment building, and this kind of thing. That's a place also I think the government should step in. In other words, there should be a government protection of housing. There should be government protection of food, so that children don't starve and people don't starve. There should be a minimum threshold of things that are possible for people, like Social Security and Medicare and all health care. That's stuff that the government should make sure that everybody has a minimum bottom floor. Now, the other side's always saying, well, we don't want to pay for it. Why should I give a freeloader something, because I'm doing all this work and they're taking my money? Well, mostly everybody works, That's the thing. Hard times happen to people, So what my point being, on these, we should, as a democratic society, set the minimum threshold of what is a good life, a possible life. And the amount of taxes required to be able to balance that out, I believe, will be set by artificial intelligence. They should have artificial intelligence determine the proper amount of taxation in order to set up that minimum amount of life threshold. So that's my concept. I think we can improve as a society and as a government if we understand the technology.